Hey, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're dedicated to helping podcasters promote themselves and increase listeners through audiograms and social video. On today's episode, we're going to do a dive into Twitter and how having a presence on the site is something that every podcaster looking to grow their audience should set some time aside for. We'll also go over a few ways that podcasters that are already on Twitter can level up their Twitter game through a couple of best practices. Twitter, by design, is intended to allow its users to compose and post short tweets that can be up to 280 characters long. These tweets can be seen by anyone on the site, regardless of whether or not they're following you, so long as your account isn't set to private. They can also be liked and retweeted by users, which will then lead to them appearing on the feeds of anyone following the person who took action on it. This has led to Twitter becoming a hub for a number of online communities, such as podcasting, because it allows show hosts to quickly send out updates about their show, as well as post or share clips from new episodes. It's also become a great way for people, regardless of whether or not they're podcasters, to interact and communicate with each other. This is also where the two big draws that Twitter has over other social media sites come into play. By having a character limit on posts, Twitter encourages its users to keep their tweets short and sweet, while also encouraging that they post multiple times throughout the day. It's also worth mentioning that, unlike an app like Instagram, Twitter doesn't require that you include an image or video in your posts. While image and video certainly help with retention and engagement, it's entirely optional. And because liked or retweeted content gets shared to the accounts of the person liking and reposting your tweets, Twitter also encourages that you post about more than just your podcast explicitly in order to better engage with your audience and their interests. Now, like I just mentioned, image and video is a great way to get higher retention and engagement on your tweets. So for podcasters looking to take advantage of video to promote your show, Headliner is the tool for you. Headliner is able to take a short segment from your episodes and turn them into videos, complete with transcribed text, uploadable artwork, and a moving waveform to share on any social media site. Headliner's been used by everybody from The Economist to shows like WTF with Mark Maron and The Office Ladies. It's even available directly through several podcast hosts like Libsyn, Omny, and Podcast.co, so there's a good chance that you may already have access to Headliner through each of those sites or any of our other integrated podcast hosts. On top of that, you can even make Headliner videos directly from the audio editor to script. You can also always visit headliner.app to sign up for a free account if you'd like to promote your podcast with video. And if you want to get a sample of what a Headliner video is like, or you want to have videos automatically created for your show without you ever needing to leave the comfort of Twitter, we also offer a Twitter bot that's designed to reply to tweets about your podcast with a clip from it at your beck and call. To call the bot, all you need to do is reply to a tweet that features an episode link with @HeadlinerClip, and then follow it with the word preview. Then, our bot will follow that episode link, create a video for a moment from it, and reply with that clip. Okay, so what if you've already got your Twitter up and running and you just want to drive your engagement on the platform? Well, we've done a bit of digging into the subject and think that we've come up with a couple of best practices that are sure to help you do just that. We've also reached out to some of the podcasters subscribed to our newsletter to share ideas on how to get the most out of using Twitter for a podcast, starting with Uncle CT from the Hear Me Out podcast.
Hey guys, this is Uncle CT from the Hear Me Out podcast. The number one promotional tip or advice I would give about promoting your podcast on Twitter would be do it consistently every day. Don't stop, keep going, post as much content as you can. By the way, it's a free platform. Why not?
This is some really great advice, and it goes hand in hand with what I had mentioned earlier when I said that Twitter is designed to encourage its users to post multiple times a day. Twitter has new content being posted on it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so making sure that you're peppering updates about your show onto your followers' feeds is a huge part of getting more followers and listeners for your show. These posts could come in the form of literal updates about what you and any of your co-hosts may be up to polls about something you discussed in an episode, or an image promoting your latest episode.
The name of my podcast is Emperors of the Deep, the Shark podcast. And my tip for Twitter is to have regular photos of one every day of the week, and with a punchy, just no more than one sentence saying, this is the podcast and the reason why they have to see it. The reason has to be short, pithy, and to the point.
Seriously, I can't state the importance of tweeting multiple times a day enough. Even if you don't have anything new to promote, you can always try directing your audience towards older, still relevant episodes of your show. In fact, Twitter themselves actually encourages that podcasters on their platform recycle and resurface old content in order to continue to promote your podcast back catalog. You can even use hashtags like Throwback Thursday or Wayback Wednesday to help categorize your tweet as being about older content you've created. Speaking of hashtags, Sprout Social has a handbook to getting the most out of Twitter that brings up using hashtags in order to put your tweets in front of new people who could potentially follow your account and, in the case of podcasters, convert into listens. They also suggest using hashtag analytics sites to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to finding out what's trending on Twitter and what's relevant to your type of content. As for the actual contents of your hashtag tweet, you can use Headliner to grab a relevant moment from your show in order to offer some direct value to the listeners scrolling through that hashtag. For example, if your podcast is about emerging technology in the world of entertainment, you could grab a clip from your show about a specific piece of tech and then post it onto Twitter with a hashtag for people who are interested in that type of technology. This is actually generally good advice for anyone looking to get more eyes on their tweets, but using Headliner to take things to the next level is a great way to place additional value on your posts, as Belinda Weaver from the Hot Copy podcast said in her response to our newsletter.
Hi there, my name is Belinda Weaver, and my podcast is called Hot Copy. My number one tip for promoting a podcast on Twitter is to share little tips and bits of information from the podcast. They act as fantastic hooks to get people into listening to the whole episode.
The value your Headliner video could add to a well-hashtagged podcast tweet is invaluable. It'll help you stand out on that hashtag, which will likely be home to mostly text or image-based tweets and responses, especially since video-based tweets have historically led to higher engagement rates on social media. Speaking of engagement rates, one of the best ways to improve your presence on Twitter is to make an effort to directly engage with your listeners. You could do this by replying to tweets that they send you, or by encouraging your listeners to interact with your account, both on Twitter itself or in the audio of your podcast. Because your Twitter interactions are shared with the people following you, interacting with your listeners, other podcasters, or just other tweets in general has the ability to get your exchanges shown on your followers' feeds if they respond to you. Essentially, if you participate and feed the Twitter community, Twitter's community will hopefully participate and feed your account back. Twitter overall is a great place to network with other podcasters, and by building a relationship with shows that are similar to yours, you'll be helping grow your audience by gaining access to an audience with a proven interest in your type of content. And to get even more out of your account, you can make sure that anyone visiting your Twitter profile knows exactly what your show is about by providing a pinned tweet on the top of your profile. This pinned tweet will appear before the rest of the posts on your account and is a great place to tell people about your show through the use of video. This video could be something that you've recorded on your phone, or if you want to be really fancy, be an audiogram that you've created on Headliner. By following some of these tips for promoting your podcast on Twitter, you'll be sure to get your content in front of potential new listeners. You'll also have a more direct line to that audience than something like Apple Podcast reviews, which can go a long way in helping you get feedback on your show. And with that said, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Headliner Podcast. Before we end things completely, though, I just wanted to share a huge thank you to the Headliner newsletter subscribers who shared tips and tricks about using Twitter to promote their shows, and I encourage anyone who's interested in submitting responses for future episodes to do so. All you have to do to respond to our prompts for future episodes is to sign up for our newsletter, which you can do by visiting headliner.app/newsletter. Additionally, if you're at all curious for more ways to improve your podcast promotion on Twitter, we've been sure to include links to our sources used in today's episode in our show notes, as well as in our episode's supplementary blog post, which can be read at headliner.app/blog. I hope you guys got some value out of this episode of the Headliner Podcast, and I hope you have a great day.